chosen one, God did not take your voice. He took your permission to waste it. I need you to sit with that distinction for a moment before this video moves forward, because there is a significant difference between a voice that has been silenced and a voice that has been sealed. And the difference between those two things is the difference between defeat and preparation. The chosen one, whose voice has been silenced, is a chosen one who has been stopped. The chosen one, whose voice has been sealed, is a chosen one who is being loaded. And what is being loaded into the sealed vessel of your disciplined silence right now is a level of financial authority, spiritual clarity, and kingdom intelligence that could not survive the pressure of public exposure before it was fully formed. You have been feeling this. In the last several weeks, something has been closing around your words, not in a violent or dramatic way, in a quiet, persistent, almost inexplicable way. You had things to say. You had victories to announce. You had plans you wanted to share, progress you wanted to describe, a version of yourself that was finally taking shape and that you wanted the people around you to see. And every time you approached the moment of speaking it, something stopped you. A sudden loss of motivation, a tightening in the throat, a quiet but unmistakable internal signal that said, "Not yet, not this, not here, not them." That was not the enemy shutting you down. That was the Spirit installing a protocol. A high-level encryption on the frequency of abundance that is building in your life, one that cannot be broadcast publicly before it reaches the pressure required to open. What I am about to show you is waiting to be opened. The floodgates do not open for the chosen one who announced the water. The floodgates open for the chosen one who held the pressure long enough for the dam to break on heaven's timeline. Welcome to Chosen Wealth Wisdom. The chosen one does not speak their way into abundance. The chosen one silences their way into the pressure that abundance requires. Before we go any further, here is what I need from you right now. If you have felt in the last 3 days a specific moment, a moment when you could have spoken, when you had the opening and the audience and the opportunity to explain yourself, to announce something, to defend your position or share your progress, and something in you chose silence instead, not from fear, not from defeat, from a deep, settled, instinctive knowing that the speaking would have cost something you could not afford to spend right now. If that moment happened, type the words, "Silence is preparation" in the comments right now. Drop it right now, because that moment of chosen silence was not a missed opportunity. It was the single most financially significant decision you made in the last 72 hours. And subscribe to Chosen Wealth Wisdom before this video ends, because what I am building on this channel is the complete operating manual for the chosen steward in the season of sealed abundance. And every piece of it was designed for the person who is standing exactly where you are standing right now. Stay with me. 3 days ago, you chose silence when speaking would have been easier. The situation presented itself clearly. There was a person, or a group, or a social media moment, or a conversation that arrived at your door, carrying an invitation to explain yourself, to justify the direction you have been moving, to share what is building in your life before it is built enough to be shared, to get the validation of having the people around you understand what you are carrying before the carrying is complete. The invitation was real, the audience was present, the words were ready, and you did not speak them. Not because you could not, because something wiser than your social instinct made the decision on your behalf. Because your spirit, which has access to information your conscious mind is still processing, had already calculated the cost of the disclosure and determined that the price was too high. That speaking the incomplete vision into the incomplete audience at the incomplete moment would drain the very pressure that the vision requires to arrive. And so the throat tightened, and so the motivation dissolved. And so the words that were fully formed in your mind remained unexpressed in the room. What you experienced as a loss of courage was actually a gain of wisdom. What you interpreted as failure to communicate was actually success at conservation. You did not fail to speak. You succeeded at holding. And the holding is exactly what this season required from you. Now let me give you the Hebrew word that will give you the permanent theological architecture for what is happening in your silence. The word is chasha, spelled C-H-A-S-H-A, and it is one of the most powerful and least discussed words in the wisdom vocabulary of the Hebrew scriptures. Chasha does not simply mean to be quiet. In English, silence can be passive, the absence of sound, the default state of someone who has nothing to say or who has been overpowered into stillness. Chasha is categorically different. Chasha is an active, chosen, governed state of strategic stillness. It carries within it the meaning of holding peace, trusting absolutely, remaining composed under pressure that would justify noise in most people. The word appears in contexts of warriors before the decisive strike, of kings receiving divine intelligence that cannot be acted upon until fully received, of prophets in the moment, between the word arriving and the word being released, the held breath before the declaration. In Isaiah chapter 30, verse 15, God delivers one of the most counterintuitive financial and strategic instructions in all of Scripture. In returning and rest you shall be saved. In quietness and trust shall be your strength. The word translated as quietness in that verse is chasha, and the verse is not addressed to someone who has nothing to do. It is addressed to a people who are surrounded by a situation that seems to demand frantic action, urgent explanation, and constant noise. And God's instruction to that situation is chasha. Govern your stillness, hold the peace, trust absolutely, because your strength does not come from the noise you make. Your strength comes from the pressure you hold. Now hear the financial application of this theology clearly. Words are a form of energy release. Every time you speak, your vision prematurely, share your plan with the wrong audience at the wrong moment. Explain your progress to people who are not yet in a position to receive it correctly. Announce your direction before the direction has been validated by results. You release a portion of the spiritual pressure that the vision requires to manifest at full force. You are not lying. You are not being careless exactly. You are simply spending energy that was meant to be held. And the spending of premature words is one of the most common and least recognized reasons that chosen ones who receive powerful visions see them arrive at less than their designed magnitude. The dam analogy is not decorative. It is technically accurate. The power of a dam is not the water. It is the pressure of the held water. The same volume of water that produces electricity when held at pressure produces nothing when it simply flows freely across a flat plane. What you have been experiencing as the silence of stuckness is actually the silence of held pressure. The chashar of your recent weeks is not the evidence that nothing is happening. It is the evidence that pressure is building to the specific level at which the floodgates can open, and the release will be powerful enough to do what the assignment requires. God closed your mouth because He is filling your dam. Now, let me show you what heaven observed in you that confirmed your readiness for this specific instruction. Because the chasha teaching is not delivered to every chosen one in every season. It is delivered specifically and precisely to the one whose behavior in the quiet has demonstrated the capacity to hold the one whose private record shows a pattern of choosing the sealed vessel over the premature disclosure. The first thing heaven observed was your victory without a post. There was a moment, a specific, real, significant moment when something in your financial life crossed a threshold. A plan came together. A number moved in the right direction. An idea arrived with such clarity and such completeness that you knew immediately it was the kind of thing that changes trajectories. And in that moment, the instinct of the social media age arrived on schedule. Share it. Post the evidence. Let the people who have been watching the struggle see the shift. Let the milestone be witnessed by the same audience that witnessed the difficulty, and you held it. Not forever, but in the critical early period, when the vision is most fragile and the outside voice is most dangerous, you protected it. You held it in what I am calling the secret council, the private, intimate, unwitnessed space between you and the God who gave you the vision in the first place. You did not need the applause to make it real. You let it be real in the invisible realm, before you let it be visible in the public one. And that choice, the choice to protect the vision in its most vulnerable stage from the commentary of an unqualified audience, is the single most important reason the vision has survived long enough to arrive at the pressure required for the floodgates to open. The second thing heaven observed was your discipline of using the silence productively. While the chasha was active, while the speech was held and the public presence was reduced, you were not dormant. You were in the strategy room. You were using the hours that lesser chosen ones spend performing their progress on social media to actually build the progress that will one day be worth performing. You were praying with precision rather than posting with performance. You were planning the structure of what the incoming resources will be deployed to build. You were studying the terrain that you are about to move through at a speed that will require prior knowledge of the landscape to navigate successfully. This matters for the floodgates in a way that is entirely practical. A flood that arrives before the infrastructure to direct it is built does not produce abundance, it produces destruction. The chasha season was not just about holding the pressure, it was about using the silence to build the channels that will direct the flood when it comes. And you have been building. The channels are taking shape, the infrastructure is being laid. When the floodgates open, the water will have somewhere to go, not because the flood is controlled, but because the steward is prepared. And the prepared steward is the one who used the silence to build what the noise would have prevented. Stop. Let that land fully. The silence was not empty. The silence was the most productive season you have had in years. And the productivity of it will only become visible when the floodgates open and everything the silence built is suddenly required all at once. Now, let me give you 5 specific signs that the floodgates are approaching the moment of opening. 5 present tense, identifiable, real-world manifestations of the chasha pressure reaching its release point. The first sign is the internal roar. This is the most paradoxical of the 5 signs because it arrives in the middle of your external silence. While the voice remains held, while the public presence remains reduced, while the chasha discipline remains active on the outside, something on the inside shifts from quiet to loud, not in an anxious way. Not in the way of someone who can no longer contain the frustration of waiting, in the way of someone who has received intelligence about what is coming and whose spirit is responding to that intelligence with a confidence that does not require external confirmation to sustain itself. A knowing so settled and so specific that it no longer feels like hope, it feels like memory of something that has not yet happened. The internal roar is the sound of held pressure at the maximum point before release. When you notice it, when the outside is quiet, but the inside is thundering with certainty, you are standing at the moment immediately before the floodgates open. Do not rush to release the pressure outwardly. Let the internal roar build. It is not restlessness, it is readiness. The second sign is the collapse of old conversations. You notice it as a specific kind of social discomfort that is different from ordinary introversion. You are in a conversation, a familiar conversation, with familiar people, about familiar subjects, and for the first time, the subjects feel foreign. The conversations about limitation, about lack, about why things cannot work, about the shared catalogue of complaints and obstacles that has been the background music of your social environment for a long time. These conversations no longer have purchase on your attention, not because you are judging the people in them, because the frequency of those conversations no longer matches the frequency of what is building in your life. You have been changed by the chasha at a level that is now producing an involuntary social recalibration. The people and conversations that operated at the frequency of the previous season can no longer hold your full attention because your full attention is already operating at the frequency of the next one. Let this happen without guilt. It is not rejection of people, it is alignment with purpose. The floodgates cannot open in a vessel that is still fully invested in the conversations of the dam. The third sign is the blueprint download. In the deepest hours of the chasha, in the most complete stillness, when the external noise is lowest and the internal receptivity is highest, a specific, structured, sequenced plan of action arrives. Not a vague directional impression, a precise, step-by-step, actionable financial or business blueprint with a clarity and a specificity that could not have been produced by ordinary mental effort alone. The blueprint download is the intelligence that the chasha was creating the space to receive. Every premature word you did not speak created a moment of silence in which a piece of the blueprint could be delivered. Every conversation you chose not to enter built a layer of the receptivity that the full blueprint required. When the blueprint arrives, write down every detail immediately. Do not wait for a better moment or a cleaner document. The download comes at full resolution in the moment of maximum stillness and fades to outline if it is not captured at the moment of delivery. The blueprint is the architectural intelligence for the structure you will build when the flood arrives. Receive it completely. The fourth sign is the appearance of the numbers 8, 8, 8 and 10, 10. In covenant theology, 8 is the number of new beginnings. It is the number that comes after 7, after the complete cycle of the created order, initiating the dimension of what has never existed before. 3 8s together represent the fullness of new beginning, operating simultaneously at every level of your life. New financial systems, new relationships, new opportunities, new capabilities, all arriving together in the season that follows the chasha. When you see 8, 8, 8, receive it as heaven's announcement that the new thing that your silence was protecting is fully formed and is approaching the moment of its public arrival. 10 is the number of divine order and covenant completion, as I shared in our previous teaching. When you see 1010, receive it as heaven's confirmation that the covenant legal framework is fully active and that the opening of the floodgates is operating within the full authority of the divine order. Both sequences together declare, the new beginning is fully authorized, the order is fully established, the flood is fully legal, the dam is ready to open. The fifth sign is the sudden physical lightness. For weeks or months, there has been a quality of heaviness in the body, specifically in the throat and chest, that accompanied the chasha season. Not illness exactly. A weight, the physical sensation of held pressure expressing itself in the body that is carrying it. And then, without a clear external trigger, it lifts. The tightness in the throat dissolves. The pressure in the chest releases. The physical sensation of carrying something too large for the body gives way to a quality of ease that feels almost suspicious in its completeness. This is not the resolution of the situation that was creating the pressure. This is the spiritual release that happens when the dam reaches capacity and heaven signals. The holding phase is complete. The pressure has reached the level required. The floodgates are receiving the order to open. The physical lightness is the body's registration of a decree that was made in the spiritual realm before it is executed in the natural one. When you feel it, receive it, not as relaxation, but as activation. The lightness is not the pressure leaving, it is the pressure converting from the energy of holding to the energy of flowing. Now, let me speak directly about the warfare operating specifically against the chasha season, because the enemy has a very specific and very targeted strategy for the chosen one who is in the silence before the flood. And it is not the strategy you would expect. He will not attack the silence directly. He cannot make you speak if your spirit is fully committed to the chasha. What he can do is send people to your door carrying what I am calling the explanation trap, the deliberate, precisely targeted provocation that is designed to make speaking feel not like disclosure, but like justice. He will send someone who misrepresents you publicly, specifically, in a way that feels deeply unfair, and that seems to demand a response. He will send someone who questions your integrity, your direction, your qualifications, your character, in a way that makes the silence feel like complicity in the misrepresentation rather than wisdom in the face of it. He will create the conditions in which speaking feels not like pride, but like righteousness, not like premature disclosure, but like necessary defense. And the test is whether you can distinguish between the two, between the moment when speaking is genuinely required and the moment when speaking is being engineered by the enemy to drain the pressure that the Chasha has been building. Most of the time, in the Chasha season, the explanation trap is identifiable by a single characteristic. The audience asking for the explanation is not an audience whose understanding of your position will actually change anything material about your situation. They cannot build the vision. They cannot fund the assignment. They cannot open the floodgates. All they can do is receive the explanation, which will drain the pressure without producing any return on the energy spent. The weapon against the explanation trap is what I call sacred muteness. Not the muteness of someone who has nothing to say, you have everything to say. Sacred muteness is the chosen, disciplined, covenant-authorized decision to withhold the explanation from the audience that does not have the authority to do anything productive with it. It is the understanding that you do not owe every person who is confused about you the energy of your clarification. You owe God the fidelity of your assignment. And the assignment right now is to hold the pressure until the floodgates open on heaven's timeline, rather than drain it in the explanation trap on the enemies. Joseph in the pit did not explain himself to his brothers. Jesus before Pilate said nothing when the accusations multiplied. David, anointed king years before the crown arrived, did not spend those years explaining to Saul's court why he deserved what had been promised. The pattern of the Chasha runs through the entire biblical record of chosen ones on the threshold of the flood. The silence before the release is sacred. It is not weakness, it is the final qualification. Say this out loud right now. I owe no one an explanation. I owe God my faithfulness. The silence that feels like loss is actually the accumulation of the pressure that will produce the flood. I refuse the explanation trap. I protect the Chasha. My sacred muteness is not defeat. It is the final stage of loading before the floodgates open. And when they open, the release will be powerful enough to make every word I did not speak irrelevant in the face of what the silence produced. Say it again. Let the declaration seal the Chasha and bar the entrance of every explanation trap that was scheduled to arrive in the coming days. Now receive the final activation. Place one finger on your lips, the physical gesture of Chasha, of chosen, intentional, strategic silence. Hold it for one breath, not as performance, as the physical acknowledgement of the sacred muteness that has been your qualification for this moment. Let the gesture be the seal on the final days of the holding season. Then open both hands wide, palms up. Fingers spread, the posture of a person who has finished holding and is now positioned to receive what the holding produced. And say these words: I have been in the Chasha. I held the words that would have drained the pressure. I held the explanations that would have satisfied the audience but depleted the dam. I held the announcements that would have given the enemy intelligence about what was building before it was strong enough to survive the exposure. I held everything that the floodgates required me to hold, and I declare that the holding is complete. The pressure is at capacity. The blueprint has been received. The infrastructure is being laid. And I open my hands now, not to speak prematurely, but to receive completely every resource, every strategy, every divine intelligence, and every material abundance that the Chasha season was building the pressure to release. The floodgates are opening. I am positioned under them, and what the silence produced will be greater than anything the noise could ever have announced. Amen. Receive this decree over your Chasha season. I declare that the sacred muteness of your recent weeks is not the last chapter of silence, it is the final paragraph before the flood. The chasha has reached its designed completion. The pressure in the dam is at the exact level that heaven determined was required for the floodgates to open with the force necessary to accomplish what the assignment requires. The holding is complete. The release is authorized. I declare that the 5 signs of the approaching floodgates are fully active and fully present in your life right now. The internal roar is building toward its maximum, the thunder of held certainty about what is coming, that your external silence has been protecting from the wrong ears. The old conversations are falling away as the frequency of your life recalibrates to match the season that is arriving. The blueprint is either already in your hands or is in final transit toward the stillness of your prepared mind. The alignment numbers are confirming that the covenant authority and the new beginning are both fully operational and fully legal. And the physical lightness that signals the conversion of held pressure into flowing power is either already present or is arriving in the hours ahead. I declare that the explanation trap has been permanently deactivated over your chasha season. Every provocation that was designed to make you drain the pressure in the guise of righteousness has been exposed for what it is and refused entrance. The sacred muteness stands. The pressure holds. The dam does not break on the enemy's schedule. It opens on heaven's, and heaven's schedule has been reached. I declare that when the floodgates open, and they are opening now, in this declaration, in this moment of maximum held pressure, converting to released power, the release will be proportional to the holding. Every day of chasha, every swallowed explanation, every victory without a post, every prayer said instead of a complaint made, every hour of strategy built in the silence instead of performance staged in the noise, all of it converted at the full exchange rate of heaven's economy into the magnitude of the flood that is now authorized to break through. And the flood that was built by that quality of holding is a flood that does not recede. It establishes, it builds, it produces the financial legacy that the assignment requires and that the chasha silence always deserved. Like this video right now as your seal, your declaration that the chasha season was not wasted, that the silence was preparation, and that the flood it releases is authorized, unstoppable, and arriving right now. Subscribe to Chosen Wealth Wisdom so that every strategic intelligence briefing for the season you are entering finds you immediately. The flood requires ongoing navigation. This channel is the navigation room. Drop a comment right now and tell me, which of the 5 signs of the approaching floodgates have you been experiencing most powerfully? I am reading every one. I am praying over every name. The chasha is complete. The pressure is at capacity. The floodgates are opening. Well done, chosen one. Well done.